Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's... I almost can't say it. It's the final NFL podcast for this season. Yeah. SuperBowl has been and gone, so all that's left to do is the last bit of business, I'm afraid, and that's the last podcast of the season. NFL podcast. Obviously, there are others. So, yeah. Join me and Paul as we go through what happened. Yeah. Before that, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one. I know it's the last one, but do share the podcast around. Maybe there's something in there that you agree with. Maybe there's something in there you disagree with. Maybe it's a talking point. Send it to a friend. Say, what do you think to this? Who knows? Right, let's get started for the last time this season. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
I have absolutely no idea whose turn it is. So,
Well, I suppose technically we could share the wealth, as sadly, this is our last NFL podcast for between 6 and 7 months.
don't do it.
For anyone listening on the audio there with that massive clank that just happened in the background, I do apologise as my wife just heaves something into the corner of the room that she had finished with. So if you do hear a massive thud on your podcast feed, ladies and gentlemen, that's just my wife.
It was
throwing
not.
herself about.
It was not a body.
About in the living room as we're recording. Funny. But yes, last one of the season, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, it's been a ride. I'm not sure. I promised myself I was going to be very positive, and because of that, I got out all of my gripes, moans, and complaints on a different podcast earlier in the week, so that I can be super positive on this one. So yes, as a season, it had its ups and its downs, and then we had a Super Bowl. But yes, this is our last run of the season, so we should probably get down to business. And let's be real, we're going to get down to the main part of the business, the real sort of the core of the business. So, what did you eat in the end?
So as discussed on last week's podcast, rather than go the traditional route, a group of us that were meeting at the pub to watch the game met in the curry house that is next door to the pub prior, and had a delicious Indian meal. It was fantastic. Started off with a couple of cheeky poppadoms, pickle tray, standard start. Then that was the starter as such, and dove straight in with the curries. I had what was essentially like a mixed grill of sorts in a curry sauce.
Oh,
So I believe it was chicken tikka, tandoori chicken, lamb, and prawns in a sort of a fairly medium to slightly hot sauce. Shared a rice and a garlic naan with one of my pals, and washed it all down with 2 delicious pints of Cobra.
Any table sharing Peshwari?
No, it was just a sort of a. You ordered your breads if you wanted your breads. We paired off and shared just a plain old garlic naan, and delicious it was.
I have never given the garlic naan the time of day. because of the existence of the Peshwari. I get it. I understand that there is a place in this world for a garlic naan to the point that I have actually been researching multiple different ways how to make garlic naan at home. However, garlic naan on one side, Peshwari on the other, there is no situation where I'm not taking the Peshwari. It's just, I'd love to give garlic a chance, but I just can't. The scenario is, do you have any Peshwari naan? No, I'm sorry, we don't. I'll take garlic, please. It's that. That is the only scenario where I can see that being the case. So I'm unfortunately going to have to deduct you 1 point for it sounds amazing. It sounds obviously, I think as you've covered a couple of times, not the most traditional way of doing it, but the conversation in our house was ultimately it's a day, a night, evening, however you want to look at it, of the year where you can actually cut loose for what is in our house once. So you want the best, you want the peak, you want the top of the pops as far as food's concerned. It also has to tick a series of, is it going to get me through the evening? Is it going to knock me out for the evening? So you've got that terrible combination. There's a lot, like, you don't want something too heavy, you don't want something too stodgy, you don't want to feel like you're wading through treacle in an attempt to watch 4 hours of football in the middle of the night. So I think there is a lot to be said for trying to do it differently.
It certainly helped with getting the sort of the evening started. I think it got everyone in like a good mood to sort of like be like chatting, and the conversation was free flowing, shall we say? But I think, obviously, given what we were discussing last week, I think the public need to know, how did whatever you cooked go down? Now, I already know this because I've already seen some of the pictures. Now, the pictures were flying through on the group chat at quite a rate of knots, but obviously because I was in the middle of a curry, I was unable to respond at the time, so I had to sort of quickly flick back through and try and reabsorb this information. But all I can say is the pictures that I saw. Oh my!
So some quick decisions were made, some split decisions were made. Leanne decided to chalk off the hash brown for a series of different reasons. Those reasons being, seemed like a lot of hassle, which I had to agree. Being the person that was going to be the one making it, I had to agree in the end. Was unable to find any ghee in the end, which wasn't going to be a major issue, but obviously, if you're trying to do stuff right. And I think at the time I'd forgotten the addition of trying my hand at halloumi fries, which the excitement got up there for that situation, right up until the point that I started making them and went, oh no, why aren't they working? What's wrong? I was a little premature in my oh no, what the fuck? Because within 90 seconds of that, it was looking good. So a friend of mine had given me a foolproof method of making homemade chips in the air fryer. We have recently upgraded our air fryer to allow for more capacity, and this was a perfect opportunity. I had a test run and decided to make a couple of changes, and away we go. Leanne, in her ultimate wisdom, was like, skin on, skin off. I was like, it's entirely up to you. She was like, skin off, but hold on to those skins, get them in the same seasoning and oil combo, get them in there, crispy skins. I was like, you are up here for thinking. So I was like, right, I'm with you. I was like, I'm gonna peel them onto something to dry them out, and then we'll season them the same and get them in there. And honestly, it was a worldy idea. We also converted them to cheesy chips, and yeah, the halloumi fries for me personally were always going to be up there as the heavy hitter, and they did not disappoint. In my life, there are certain things that have been very dangerous for me to learn to make. There are certain things in my life that I have avoided learning to make because I heard once somebody say, these are actually really easy. And I went, that's a terrible combination. The fact that I now know how to make halloumi fries is probably the worst thing that could have happened to my waistline. So there is that. It was straight over to the pizza garlic bread combo. They'd been like and ahhing about how best to do certain things. And in the end, I was like, look, I'm just going to make I'm going to make a small pizza, a small garlic bread. I have been desperately trying to perfect the stuffed crust and have had nothing but failures. Every time I've done it, the crust has lifted, the cheese has run out, and you've just got a slop fest. So I ended up not doing it anymore. But there was a point in time where I saw a trick that can be used where you make your base, you dough your base and stuff, you do your stuffed crust, and then you part bake that before then doing your sauce, your toppings, whatever else. I was like, if only there was a way I could test this theory before game day. Like, I don't know, if my youngest daughter has been asking me for about 3 weeks to make her a pizza. Oh, wait. So, pulled the old, I'm going to make you a pizza for tea. I'm going to make something, it'll be special pizza. Managed to get the desired result. So it was stuffed crust garlic bread pizza and stuffed crust pizza all round. It was a quadruple cheese pizza by that point. And yeah, it was all good. Absolute standout for me with the halloumi fries. I think more because I was just so surprised. They're not difficult to make, unfortunately for me. And oh, so good. Then it was a little bit of chocolate just to cut through some of that grease, and then some little nibbly sweets, just like little jelly beans, and just if you feel a little dip at some point in the game, you're like, oh, just have a little reinvigorate, and that was that. So there we go. That's the business end out of the way. I suppose we should talk about the
main event, as it were.
The main event.
So, do we want to go through predictions or discuss the game, go through the stats, and then go to the predictions? I almost feel like we need to leave the predictions to last.
I mean, we could always not do them. That would work real well for me. I was like, I don't know what I'm more annoyed about.
I tell you what, let's leave the predictions to last. Should we go through the stats of the game, and then obviously like that'll spark some sort of, I'm sure that'll spark some conversation, shall we say at least?
Yes, I was going to say, should we cover off what happened? But I am going to go out and say there's probably a stat in there that maybe covers it. Big shout out to Stats Mistress, as always, delivers, and for the last time this season, because it won't be this year, because obviously we'll be back again in September. But for the last time for this season, the Stats Mistress has delivered. No mention of who to thank, because I believe these stats may have come from a variety of different sources. So these are the NFL Super Bowl 59 stats brought to you by the stats mistress. The first one is, in fact, what happened. The Philadelphia Eagles demolished the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl 59, 40-22. The final score actually closer than the blowout it was for 3 quarters. The halftime score is maybe one to talk about, because who saw that one coming? Anyway, the Eagles' victory at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans Sunday denied the Chiefs from becoming the first NFL team to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Hurts joined Tom Brady and Joe Burrow as one of 3 quarterbacks to beat Mahomes during the NFL playoffs. Number 4, the Eagles' victory not only gave them vengeance for their 38-35 loss to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57, but it also made them the 16th franchise in NFL history to win multiple Super Bowls. Number 5, it was the Eagles' second Super Bowl victory in the 92-year history of the franchise after Nick Foles led them to the title in Super Bowl 52. And my final stat, my stats were quick to get through. Jalen Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP after completing 17 of his 22 passes for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Over to you for some stats.
Yes, indeed. And the stats don't finish there for Mr. Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts was also the team's leading rusher, with 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown that helped Philadelphia once again bring home the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Eagles rookie Cooper DeJean became the first player in NFL history to score a touchdown in a Super Bowl on his birthday. The defensive back's first career interception resulted in a pick 6 on his 22nd birthday. Running back Saquon Barkley took 25 carries but was limited to just 57 yards. Wide receivers Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown both were having a receiving touchdown each. Excuse me. Excuse me. Next year's Super Bowl will be number 60. It will be held in Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California, the same site that was for Super Bowl 50 10 years previously. And then onto the halftime show. So Kendrick Lamar performed the Super Bowl 59 halftime show. The Compton-born rap superstar made history with his Super Bowl halftime show performance, pulling in a record-breaking 133.5 million viewers, dethroning the legendary Michael Jackson's long-standing viewership record of 133.4 million viewers in 1993. And just finally, a bit of negative news. A performer in Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show was detained after he unfurled a flag that was a combined flag of 2 nations during the performance. The NFL confirmed on Monday morning to the USA Today that the person was part of the 400-member field cast and had hidden the flag on himself before the halftime show began on Sunday night. The league said in a statement the individual will be banned for life from all NFL stadiums and events. Something that I'd heard earlier in the week on a different podcast was that that it was unlikely that any sort of shenanigans would happen, like on the field, mainly because of the fact that because the president was due to be there, it was more than likely that the security was probably beefed up even more so than it normally would be. So it sounded like this was the only way that anything like that was going to happen, with someone like sort of being like on the inside, as it were, and stuff like that. But yeah, bit of a strange game, really, wasn't it? Because obviously the Chiefs were down 24-0 at half time, and I think that the Eagles were into the 30s before the Chiefs even registered any sort of points.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I this felt funnily enough, mentioning Super Bowl 50, this felt a lot like Super Bowl 50 to me. A team that comes through the season dominating all the way to be categorically the worst team in all places on the day. I mean, Mahomes has taken some severe criticism, shall we say, for his performance. Travis Kelce has taken severe criticism for his performance. Obviously, I think it was no secret that there was X number of things that were planned, especially in the Travis Kelce area. And obviously, with not winning and etc., those things haven't sort of gone ahead. I shared a funny video with our group earlier, and in that video, it mentioned when we said Kansas City, you just need to shut down Saquon Barkley. That's not the only thing you had to do. I mean, let's jump back to last week where I'm like, they've just got to shut down Saquon Barkley and it's done. Apparently, that was only part of the equation. I personally agree that I thought the rest was kind of obvious, but maybe not. I am going to refrain from going in any further down the conspiracy rabbit hole on this one. Obviously, jump over to the darkest timeline if you want to hear my conspiracy on this and other things. So, like I say, I'm going to try and stay away from that stuff because I didn't bring enough tinfoil hats for everybody. My opinion is this. If you've stuck with something for 20 weeks to rock up to the biggest game of the year, the big dance, the big game, if at half time you're going into, the halftime show going, what am I watching right now? I would have rather seen a score of 3-6 at half time than what we end up. I want the Super Bowl to be was it the Bengals Chiefs that broke the record for most points in a regular playoff game? It's like
well, there was in the regular season. There was a couple of years back. It was Rams Chiefs that I think was like 51-49 or something like that. It was if it wasn't 100 points, it was really close to 100
that
points.
is the Super Bowl I want. I want point to point. I want these guys score a touchdown, the other team score a touchdown. Everybody's getting, point after us. It's just bang, 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 bang. That's what I want. And I don't want to sound like a spoiled little whatever, but that's what I deserve. I gave you 20 weeks of my life. I've done multiple podcasts on the subject at this point in time. I have given enough. Just pay me what I'm owed, which is the Super Bowl that I deserve. I want to say I get it, but I just don't. I will never understand a team that goes 15-2 and might as well have stayed in bed. I don't get it. Why? What are we doing? And you can say, well, the best team won. No, the worst team lost.
It was a very odd game. It's like it's the stereotypical thing of, one team picked the worst possible week to have their most sort of ridiculously bad performance of the season. But
do you remember when they benched all their starters?
Yeah.
That game was almost better than this.
But it's just like uncharacteristic, sort of like it's one of the worst performances that Mahomes has had, like in his entire career. Kelsey goes without a reception for hours and minutes and whatnot.
He dropped 2 passes.
It's just
not the day to be dropping passes.
Yeah.
Not
ideal.
And unfortunately, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but I just feel one cursory mention of when you've got a quarterback that's, worth $500 million, decimating teams left, right, and centre through the entire season, who turns up to produce the worst performance possibly ever, and a team that's gone through all of those weeks and beaten all those teams that turn up and give the worst performance, it lends itself to, well, what were the other factors involved? What other elements are we discussing here? Is it just purely that 75, 80% of the money that will have been bet on that game will have been bet on the Chiefs? Is it just that? Is it just purely a monetary perspective? I don't believe. Oh, we've done all the work to get here. We've done absolutely everything that we needed to do to get here. Oh, but we're terrible today. There are other teams that could have gone and given a better performance than that. Let's send the Lions out for the Super Bowl and see what they might be able to do for a change.
I must admit, I did sit there when we were in the pub. I did say I turned around and jokingly at one point said, "Bills wouldn't have lost by this many." So
the Bills fucking wouldn't have lost by that many.
But yes, we like you said earlier, we could get into the.
I'm desperately trying to pull you into. I'm trying to pull you into the weeds, pull you under the murky waters of who did what.
Let's not pull at that thread, shall we? So that's sort of the game discussion, sort of like done, like not to death by any means, but obviously that's like our sort of thoughts on the game. So obviously we made some picks last week. We need to go through those picks and see.
I mean, we don't necessarily need to. We could just end the podcast there. Could just end it there. End it.
Technically, we are going to have to end the podcast for a small period of time. We'll have to take a short break. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back to discuss our predictions right after this. And just like that, the break is over and we are right back at it. So, like we said, we made some predictions. Not just last week, over the course of the last 2 weeks, as Tony had the distinction of being the guest the week before last and made some predictions that week as well. So, let's go through the ones where no one got any points. Game MVP. No one picked Jalen Hurts. Andy and Stu both picked Patrick Mahomes. Tony picked Travis Kelce. I picked Saquon Barkley. No points across the board there. The first touchdown was... Oh, no, sorry. That is the only one where no one scored any points.
Okay.
Someone scored a point in every other category. So...
Okay.
Team. Andy, Tony, and Stu all gone with the Chiefs. I went with the Eagles, so I do get a point for that. The game score I had to do this on who was the closest in the total points. So obviously it was 40 to 22 in the end, so 62 points scored in total. Stu went for 24-13, so he was 37 points total, so he was fast maths, 25 points off. I went 42-37, 79, so I was 17 points off. Tony went for 34-10, so was 18 points off. Andy had gone 40-38, so was 16 points off. So by default, Andy was the closest, I believe, with his 78 points. So technically, I gave the point to you because you were the closest in terms of points scored. The last touchdown was scored by Xavier Worthy. Now, no one had him specifically, but we had allowed Tony the option to just put a team down. So because he picked the Kansas City Chiefs to score the last touchdown, I did give him the point there. First touchdown scorer, I had Saquon Barkley, incorrect. Tony had the Chiefs, and Stu had Kareem Hunt. Andrew Cook, Jalen Hurts. Correct answer. That's another point for Mr. Cook. And the most important point of all, the correct colour of the winning coach Gatorade shower. Now, obviously, this is a hotly contested selection on the podcast. It's the one that everyone wants to get. There were selection choices of purple from Tony, orange from myself, red or pink from Stu, and yellow/green from Andrew Cook, which just so happened to be the correct colour. All that means is that Mr. Cook successfully got 3 points from a possible 6, whereas I got 1 point. Tony got 1 point. Stu, sadly, 0 points, which means getting a point, and much more importantly for him, taking him to 10 points for the season, beating my 9.5 points for the season, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Andrew Cook is your overall season predictions winner. Well done, sir.
Honestly, I'd completely forgotten that we were doing multiple points. So I was like, I can't believe I've lost the season after all this.
You didn't even need the asterisks.
I didn't need the asterisk
for the perfect clean sweep week that you had, however many weeks ago it was. So all that's left is to sort out the side bet. Now we went into the side bet 1 point apart. It was 55 points to Andy. It was 56 points to myself. Because we had picked either way on the prediction, that did mean that Andy'd taken the Chiefs and I'd taken the Eagles. So sadly, from a side perspective, it does mean that Andy misses out by 2 points. I moved to 57. Andy stays on 55. So getting the win in the side bet this season, it is myself. So.
And in a lot of ways, that kind of feels like the way it almost, not like it almost should be, but we both would want it. I think in a lot of ways, the side bet kind of gets to be that little bit more coveted as the season goes on. Obviously, we've now had 3 seasons of the side bet, and 2 of them have ended on the last game.
It's worked out as like a nice little sort of side wrinkle, so to speak. So yeah, I think it's proved that it's well worth doing, shall we say? Just one last thing to sort of tidy up from a predictions perspective. Obviously, we each made our season-long predictions at the start of the season.
Sure did.
Over the course of the season with us and on the various different guests, no one picked the Philadelphia Eagles to even make the Super Bowl. So no one got that particular prediction correct. However, we also had made season MVP selections at the start of the season. I was sadly incorrect with my pick of CJ Stroud. Stu was sadly incorrect with his pick of Patrick Mahomes. Tony was definitely incorrect with his selection of Patrick Mahomes. And Mr. Matthew Toots Hurley was incorrect with his season MVP of Amon-Ra St. Brown. However, 3 people that joined the podcast this season each picked Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen as the league's MVP, which at the league honours the week before the Super Bowl, he was unanimously picked as the league's MVP for 2024. So very well done to Mr. Mark Wilkin, Mr. Matthew Moore, and Mr. Andrew Cook, ladies and gentlemen. Well done to you.
On a side note to that, if anybody has seen the Josh Allen MVP announcement video, I can personally say I'm not crying, you're crying. Honestly, it was, I definitely did not shed any tears watching that video. Emotional. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it, but make sure you have a strong constitution and maybe something to mop the tears with, because it punches you straight in the heartstring. Obviously there are a couple of the consolation prize mentions, and there was an AI video that was a little amusing. It does feel like a runner-up prize for many different reasons. Well done to Josh. I absolutely deserve. I would like to see Josh Allen and the Bills go to the Super Bowl and get the chance that I think they rightly deserve, when they're not getting screwed over by the refs. Anyway, so is that then? Is that all the business taken care of?
That's it. It's all done and dusted for yet another year. Crazy.
A couple of bits of housekeeping type things. Obviously, this season has not been the best from a podcast perspective for our guest selections. There have been a bit of scrambling here, there, and everywhere, and I think off myself and my co-host have discussed that maybe the guest is part of the podcast that may or may not quite be working as intended, especially when it comes down to picks. So look out for a change in the way that we deal with guests. I think guests will be more of a loosey-goosey approach. That will obviously change the way we do our predictions and moving forward. I think we can probably agree that the side bet will make a return, even if we, part of me wonders if we should make some sort of I don't know, season 4, this time it's real, kind of add another element. But that I've got several months to think on that one, and steal it from somewhere Obviously, from my perspective, the NFL podcast is one that I thoroughly enjoy doing week in, week out. I enjoy sitting down watching the games, get a lovely bit of red zone going, get some gaming 40 on a Monday night, etc., all that sort of stuff. And I enjoy sitting down with my co-host to bring the NFL to you lovely people. Obviously, it's not a sport from our country, but it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it. Speaking of not from our country, I believe that the NFL will be visiting even more countries next year, with Ireland already announced for the Steelers. I think what's happened so far is that they've announced all of the, can't remember which way they announced all the home teams.
Yes.
First, and then they announce the road teams further down the line. Now, I've heard a rumor, and I wanted to suggest to Paul that this was our game to go to as a podcast outing, because we cover off both teams in a variety of different ways. However, I don't know if Paul can face going to support his team going up against what is possibly one of his least favourite teams, because I've heard a rumour that there is due to be a Browns 49ers matchup, but unconfirmed. It's just a rumour at this point in time. So we shall have to check in on that. Yeah, big thank you to
I'm pretty sure this one has already been announced as well. So not only the game in Dublin had been announced, I believe the game in Australia has been announced as well.
Yes. Now, obviously, Australia has a link to the NFL because a lot of Australian rugby players sort of find themselves wandering down the NFL. And was there something on the coverage about one of the Welsh rugby players has made the switch?
So it was, is it Louis Rees-Zammit, I think, was originally on the Chiefs roster, found himself cut, and then he was on the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad. So I think he's not on the full roster, but he is part of the practice squad. So I think the idea is that he's going to be looking to. I think he said something about a decision on his future will be made this week.
That is what he said in the interview.
Whether or not that means he knows that he's being cut, I don't know.
The way he said it seemed to be more like he had a feeling that he was maybe going somewhere, because obviously he talked about free agency and stuff like that. But yeah, something to keep eyes peeled for. I think we here at the Cookie Cast are toying with the idea of making, lads trip to Dublin. Obviously, I would have to come out of retirement for that, because you can't go to Ireland and not drink real, actual Guinness. So, bearing in mind that would be me coming full circle, because obviously Ireland is the place that finally finished me off. So, it might be nice to go back and relive the glory days of terrible choices. That is kind of that. I don't know if have you got any other business at this point?
Nothing really. Like I said, there was the NFL awards, but we've covered the fact that it was Josh Allen was the MVP.
I think that's.
I think offensive player of the year was Saquon Barkley. Defensive player was Pat Surtain of the Denver Broncos.
Who was the rookie of the year?
I don't know why you could possibly be bringing this up, but it's got nothing to do with with a guy who might be my namesake. Let's put it that way. Throwing his toys out of the pram, so to speak. Yes, the rookie of the year, surprisingly enough, his name is Jaden Daniels. Sorry, the offensive rookie of the year was named as Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders quarterback. That's the Washington Commanders quarterback who got his team to the NFC Championship game. No less. And the gentleman who was picked with the number 2 overall pick in the draft. Yes, the gentleman taken one spot before him with the number 1 pick, Mr. Caleb Williams, came out and said,
couldn't understand it.
I don't understand what he's done this season that I didn't. Really, Caleb.
He spent less time. He spent less time at the nail salon and more time in VR learning how to play the game.
He also spent less time making his punter trot onto the field, shall we say?
Whoa! No.
Cast your mind back to the start of the season.
Pretty sure he said, "You won't have much work to do this season. Don't you worry, pal." Yeah. So there we go. There we have it. That is the season with a big, juicy bow on it, and that is us putting the toys back in the box. I always feel sad at this time of the year. It's always that point in time. It's almost the darkest point of winter. Like, NFL, American football is absolutely the thing that gets you through the darker months. And this is that point of it's early to mid-February. There is literally nothing at this point in time. We might be able to start looking forward to spring at some point, but it is, cold as balls still. So, yeah, I get real sad. I love doing the podcast. I love watching the games and everything about it. So, yes, but what does feel like a shorter off season every time. We'll be back in September. So, there you have it. If you've been riding with us since week 1, congratulations, you made it all this way. If you picked us up in week 20, look for us next season. We will almost definitely be here. So all that's left is to thank you, the lovely listener watcher, Mr. Paul Williams, for joining me every week to do this. Our fantastic guests. I was going to name them, but then I was like, I'd definitely forget someone. Stu, Matt, Tony, Mark. Obviously, I can't thank James because,
The 2 Matts.
Yeah, Matt. So, yes, thank you to everybody involved. And that's us out. That is the end of this for this time. And until next time, peace out, y'all. Take it easy, and we will see you in a few months' time. Tatty bye.
Well, there we go. What did you think to that? That's it now, I'm afraid. No more NFL for the rest of the season. It's only a few months. It gives you a chance to sort of recharge, get ready for a new season. Hopefully pick a new Super Bowl winner for this season. Who do we think? Is it the Lions this time? Is it the Bills? Who could it be? You have to keep an eye on the off-season. We'll be doing a pre-season podcast, so check out that in a few months' time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one, and that's it for this season. Join us next season, and, maybe check out one of the other podcasts we've got. Yeah, maybe. Right, I'm going to let you go. So, until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
You've just listened to another episode of Cookie Cast. Thanks for listening.